Welcome to the Our Dad Stamps YouTube channel. My name's Pete West, and like a lot of people my age, I started collecting stamps as a child, encouraged by my father, who was an avid collector. 20 years ago I inherited his collection, and at the same time I also inherited my wife's dad's collection. Since then I've been buying and selling stamps through my online stores at Delcampe and eBay under the name Our Dad Stamps. And this has allowed me to grow the collection into what you see behind me. With these videos, I want to share some stories and information that I've learnt about stamps and stamp collecting. I hope you enjoy them, and if you do, don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe to get regular updates on new content. Hello and welcome to this week's Our Dad Stamps podcast. The topic this week is actually a change from what I had originally intended, and it's been brought about because I've had to take issue with eBay recently on an ongoing basis, and I spent an awful lot of time looking at different marketplaces and thought that that would actually make a good topic for a podcast. So this week we're going to be talking about online marketplaces and where is the best place to sell your stamps and to buy stamps. As I said, this all started because I had issues with eBay, and I really need to take them to task on this. I haven't had an eBay account for nearly 20 years, and they keep telling me what a valued customer I am. But about 4 weeks ago I was sent an email from them that said, please pay an outstanding balance on your account, which I did find rather strange since it's set up to take out any fees automatically. And I thought maybe it's a phishing email, and double checked, and it wasn't. It was a genuine email from eBay. The amount outstanding was £0 and 0 pence. So naturally I ignored it. A week later I got a second email from them saying your account has been suspended because you haven't paid £0 and 0 pence. This required me to get onto the customer services and spend about half an hour getting the issue resolved. To cut a long story short, that has happened 3 further times in the past 10 days. My account has been put on hold because I owe £0 and 0 pence. Each time I spend about half an hour with customer services trying to resolve it. Each time somebody says, yes, very sorry, sir, this will be sorted out and won't happen again. And as I've just said, it keeps reoccurring. And as you can imagine, I was getting a little bit annoyed by the third and fourth time. I asked to speak to somebody higher up and brought up the subject of compensation. Since my account had been on hold 4 times, and I'd spent by that time about 2.5 hours with customer services trying to resolve the matter, I felt I was due some sort of recompense for my time as much as anything else, but also for the possibility of missed sales whilst it was on hold. I was offered a $5 voucher. That was it, and told basically that technical problems happen, that's all you're getting. I felt a little insulted. And as a consequence, I've now started looking around for different places to sell my stamps. And so it brought me on to this podcast. And having looked around, I want to review some of the places where you can sell stamps and come up with my pros and cons of each one. Now, this is what would suit me. I'm not saying this is a definitive answer at all, but let's have a look anyway. It basically appears that there are 4 choices, 4 main choices. Obviously eBay, they sell more than anybody else. They have a huge following and have been around for a long time. Then there's a company called Delcampe, which is European based and specialises in collectibles. And I have an account with them already and I have used them, and we'll go into the pros and cons of them shortly. A third one I've come across is a company called Ebid. which I've also had an account with for quite some time, but have rarely used. And finally, there's one called HipStamp. And HipStamp is an American-based company. And again, I have bought stuff from HipStamp. As yet, I haven't sold anything through them. It appears to me those are the main four. There's a couple of online catalogues that also have a selling facility in them. One is a company called ColdNet, and the other a company called Stamp World. Now, I use Stamp World for reference purposes because their online catalogue is excellent. And ColdNet I've come across recently, and that also has a very excellent online catalogue. Both of those have no fees at the moment, but they don't really have that much coverage, and neither of them I have any experience of selling or buying. And having had a quick look, the choice to buy isn't huge, so I'm guessing when you're selling, it may be a limited market. But if we go back to the four main ones, I'll start off with my favourite, eBay, and a few facts and figures. First of all, the charges with eBay. eBay, as I said, is number one. It is well known throughout the world, and if you ask anybody where would you buy an online auction, their first answer would invariably be eBay. To run my shop at eBay, it costs me, and this is my first problem with eBay, although I have a shop there, it took me ages to find out what the fees were. Eventually I found them in dollars and had to convert them, even though I was looking on the eBay UK site. And for a basic shop, it cost $27.95 per month. And for that, you get 1,000 free listings. Now, for my sort of business, if you call it a business, my sort of hobby, that's more than enough. Now, on top of that $27.95, you also have to pay 12.35% commission. So it's quite a hefty commission. And if you go over the 1,000, there's also a insertion fee. Again, I found it extremely difficult to find out how much the insertion fee is. I think it's about 40 cents, but I could be wrong on that. Having said that, as I said, it has a huge marketplace. Currently, I sell most of my things through eBay. However, I do concentrate most of my time on selling on eBay, so maybe there is a connection there. The second one I was going to look at was Delcampe, because I still use Delcampe. I still have 600 or 700 items for sale on Delcampe. It is well known in European stamp world, but it's not particularly well known outside of Europe, I don't think. And also, if you're not au fait with the online marketplaces, there's a lot of people who've never heard of Delcampe. So if you try and sell on Delcampe, you need to be aware that maybe you need to do a bit of marketing yourself as well. It's based in Belgium, and one of the main advantages of Delcampe is it's much cheaper than eBay. To run a shop, there are 3 levels of shops, which gives you different services. And like a lot of these online marketplaces, it's quite a complicated fee basis and sometimes almost impossible to work out. And Delcampe's is quite confusing. Basically, you can sell for nothing, and it will cost you 7.87% of the selling price, plus a 26-cent fee for selling. With the Delcampe shop, there are 3 levels of shops that you can have: bronze, silver and gold. The gold costs you £58.08 per annum, not per month like eBay. And for that, you can reduce the commission fees. And it works on a sliding scale, which is slightly confusing, but the more you sell, the less commission you pay. But also you pay less per sale as well. With the bronze, silver and basic, it costs you 26 cents per sale. With the gold, it only costs you 15 cents per sale, plus your commission. So you need to look around at what you think will benefit you. If you do a lot of sales, I would say that the gold would be the best on that particular site. The next one we look at is HipStamp. And I have a little bit of experience with HipStamp. It has been in many guises, and I joined them when they were owned by Stanley Gibbons. And since HipStamp has taken over, it's been growing quite well, apparently. The only problem I have with HipStamp is it's US based, and most of the customers and the sellers are US based, which affects postage costs. Not only if I was selling, my postage costs would be high to the buyers, but as a buyer, postage costs to me are quite high. And for some unknown reason at the moment, it does seem to take a long time for post to get to and from America. So it's not one that I am well versed in. However, as I said, it does appear to be growing, and it does appear to be doing quite well, particularly in the American market. And again, with HipStamp, there are different levels of shop that you can have for selling, starting at $2.95 a month, going up to the premium, which is $59.95 a month. Now that seems extortionate for a shop, but you do get 1 million free listings for that. So I'm guessing that's for serious businesses. And there are various odd levels in between. Basic is $6.95 a month. Featured is $19.95 a month. And that allows you 10,000 and 100,000 listings respectively. There is a free version where you pay nothing a month, but each listing costs you 3 cents, which I guess is pretty cheap. And after sales, basically you pay 11.95% with the basic package, reducing to 8.95% for the more expensive shops. So cheaper than eBay, not as cheap as Delcampe, but depending on your marketplace and where you are, that could be a suitable place. The last one I want to talk about in detail is Ebid. Now, a lot of people don't know about Ebid. Ebid is actually English based, and I have had an account with Ebid. I have sold successfully with Ebid, and it is by far the cheapest of the four. The main drawback with Ebid is the through traffic. It's not known by a lot of people, so it doesn't get used. When you look at the marketplace, it appears to attract low value, high turnover sales rather than high quality sales. But I know that Ebid is growing, and they have been getting some good press recently. To list on Ebid costs you nothing at a basic level, and you would pay a 5% fee. Now compare that with eBay at 12.35, HipStamp at 11.95 or 8.95 depending, and Delcampe at 7.87. That's very cheap. If you pay for a shop, which they call Seller Plus, the shop is $6.99 a month. Again, one of the cheapest around. And your fees are reduced then to 2% of selling price. And they also have an offer, which I took up some time ago. And at the moment, you can buy a lifetime membership as a Seller Plus. So instead of paying $6.99 a month, you can pay it for a lifetime membership at $49.99. And that's it. And from then on, you only pay 2% fee. So in terms of cost, it's certainly the cheapest around. The drawback is you would have to try and generate the traffic yourself, I guess, in the main. If you have a good social media presence, then that is a good possibility. And I have to admit, it's one I'm looking at the moment. So those are the four main ones. There's a few others I've come across. As I said, ColdNet and Stamp World both offer sales on their sites, but their main focus is on catalogues and forums, so they're not strictly speaking selling sites. There are a couple of others that I've come across which I really know nothing about. One called Swappy, which apparently you can buy and sell stamps on. Stamps to Go, which again is US based, and I know nothing about them. And there is another one called Katawiki. Now I had a look at Katawiki. This is European based company, and it looks a very high end auction house. It caters for all sorts of collectibles, and when you sell something on Katawiki, they assign you somebody to advise you on marketing and how to word the sale. and it's all based on auctions. There was no buy it now items there, or I couldn't find any. It's all on auctions. You pay 12.5%. So in those sort of terms, it is quite expensive. But there's no joining fee that I could make out. And as I said, it would appear if you have a quite valuable collection or a valuable stamp, that might be a place to look at. With all these places I'm talking about, I will put links in the description afterwards so that you can find them. Going back to the 4 eBay, Delcampe, Ebid and HipStamp, for ease of use, as I said, I have used all of them at some level, and they all have their quirks. They all have things to get used to when you're trying to sell, but basically they all work in the same way. You find a category to list your item in, you give it a title, you write a description, you put 1, 2 or various numbers of photographs of the item that you're selling, and you tell the customer how much they're going to pay for postage costs. All 4 of them, the customer pays the postage costs. You need to be a bit careful with postage costs because some of them it's easier to specify than others. I found Delcampe's a little bit confusing, but once you get used to it, like all these things, it's fine. And the layout is more or less the same. In terms of buying, I think eBay is much easier to browse through. So your customers might find it easier to browse on eBay. But all 4 of them have a search facility. All 4 of them are reliable and offer some protection to the buyer. This has become a bit of a point with eBay as a seller, in that if there's a dispute, invariably eBay will side with the buyer, and you don't have much protection as a seller. It's something you need to look into, because I don't want to get involved in arguments with this. I've never had a bad experience in terms of disputes. And my answer is always, to be honest, if the customer says they haven't received it, you have to take their word for it and refund. And if there's a fault with the item, then invariably it's something I haven't spotted. So again, I will refund the customer. But you need to look carefully at the conditions, certainly for eBay, but for all the others as well. So there you go. That's my take on it. If you don't have a shop at the moment and you're looking to sell and want to sell just the odd item, then I would say you're more likely to sell it on eBay, but it will cost you a lot more. If you're looking to open a shop and attract regular business, then that's very different, and you would need to look carefully at each one and maybe try out each one first. They all offer a facility where you don't need to pay anything. You just need to register to start selling. So my advice would be to try each one and see which one works best for you. But look closely at the fees, and it's not always easy to find the fees. I would say out of them all, Ebid and HipStamp were probably the best 2 in explaining exactly what it's going to cost you. Delcampe, you have to do a little bit of digging. eBay, it's a minefield, but that is another of my gripes with eBay, is you can never find anything you want. Okay, so thank you for listening. I hope that has been useful to you, and I would be interested to hear from you of your experiences of each of these, and maybe there is one that I've missed as well. So if you know of a selling site, a marketplace that is worth looking at, please let me know. But also please give me your experiences of the ones I've mentioned as well. It would be interesting to gather personal experiences and personal recommendations. There is a postscript to this podcast. Since recording the first part of it, I have received 2 further emails from eBay. The first one telling me that yet again my account's been put on hold because I owe outstanding money. And the second one reminding me of my obligation to pay the fees each month and giving me instructions on how to find the amount outstanding and where to pay it. So I followed these instructions and find that I'm now actually £89 in credit. So I still haven't resolved this problem. I still have no idea where to go from here. I can contact customer services for yet another time, but I feel now that all I'm going to get is the same response. It will be taken off hold for a couple of days and then it will be back there again. So if any of you listeners have a solution that I could try, please get in touch and let me know. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in another couple of weeks. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable. And if you did, don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe to receive regular updates on new content. You can also visit my online stores at eBay and Delcampe under the name of Our Dad Stamps, where I have over 2,000 items for sale. Please join us again in 2 weeks' time for another edition of Our Dad Stamps podcast.